Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalang Pangulangai Tegirin Yat Kripata Maham Vande Shri Guru Dina Tarini Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to just express my deep gratitude to Bhaya Hari Prabhu for the number of years, he has been been our facilitator for this Srimad Bhagavatam class. One time he spent about nearly 2 years with us, and then it was broken, and then he started back. So our sincere gratitude to him. Whatever I have learned, whatever I'm going to be speaking here this evening is based on what I've heard from him, and I'd like to thank all of you, my co-classmates, so to speak, for your association every Monday and Wednesday nights. And if I make any discrepancy, any mistakes, please feel free to correct me. What I plan to do, because I'm dealing with 4 chapters. Chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12, and chapter 13. It's called Unit 4. So I'm just going to give an overview of those 4 chapters, and then following the guidelines that Prem Kishore Prabhu has given us, we can express some realizations from what we gather from the presentation, and some salient points, little discussion. I'm going to try to go for 30 to 40 minutes, and then I'm going to use a PowerPoint to do the Purna Swadhyaya. I think that's important, because that has not been so much done by our class, and I guess by doing that little section, we can all feel inspired, encouraged, to study the purports and answer the questions. So I'll be posting the questions, see if we could get the answers. If not, I'm going to post the answer that I have. So let's see in the hour and 25 minutes that we have, how much we can cover. Maybe I could just try to get a quick overview, because I don't think we covered any kind of overview of the first canto. I'm just going to spend a couple minutes with an overview of the first canto so far, and then I'm going to do a little on chapter 9 leading up to chapter 10, and then get to the chapter 10. The Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the sages of Naimisharanya asking 6 questions to Sutta Goswami, and then he gave the answers. The first session was given by Ravi Prabhu, covering the first 3 verses. 1.1.1 of the Srimad Bhagavatam defines the absolute truth. 1.2 glorified the Srimad Bhagavatam. 1.3 invites humanity to taste the sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then the questions, were there from 119. What's the highest good? And the answer was given in 1, 2, 6, and 7. What is the highest good? And that is to develop love of God through bhakti. The essence of all scriptures, 1:11, and the answer was devotional service. The purpose of Krishna's appearance, that question was asked in 1:12, and the answer was given in 1:34 and 1:28. That is to reclaim people in the mode of goodness. And the fourth question has to do with the Purusha avatar. This was explained in Canto 2, the Leela avatars. That's the fifth question. And question 6, where did religion take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? So that's the first section. The second section has to do with chapters 4 through 19, where the sages asked 4 other questions, and Sutta Goswami answered them from chapter 4 through chapter 19. So that's like a little nutshell what the first canto is dealing with. I'm going to share my screen. Let me just give me 1 second. Let me see how I could get that. One second. All right, I'm just opening back. Are you seeing my screen? I'm just wondering.
Yes, Prabhu, we can see.
All right. So I have done this just not to go off track, because to deal with the 4th chapter, just to speak straight like that, you might just go off off track and and not cover all the material. So I was just let me just see how I can manipulate this. Okay. All right. So I think we got it. So the connection between chapter 9 and chapter 10, the previous chapter ended with the passing away of Bhishmadev. Before that, Krishna had tried to leave, and Kunti Devi, and let me just get this right. In her prayers, had tried to persuade him to stay. However, he still proceeded to leave. At that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj, greatly aggrieved at all the killing, stated that he was unable to take the throne. Krishna postpones his departure and takes Yudhishthira to Bhishmadev to receive instruction. The chapter ended with the glorious passing of Bhishma, and Yudhishthira taking up rule. So that's chapter 9 connecting with chapter 10. So this is a brief summary of what chapter 10 is. Chapter 10 has just 36 verses. Verses 1 to 6 covers the description of Maharaj Yudhishthira's kingdom. Verses 7 to 19, Krishna gets ready to depart and its influence. Verses 20 to 30 talks of the ladies of Hastinapur, and verses 31 to 36, but Krishna proceeds to Dwarka. So verses 1 to 6, Sri Shanakrishi, he inquires from Maharaj Parikshit about Yudhishthira's rule. The Kuru dynasty was exhausted, and Krishna was pleased by re-establishing Maharaj Yudhishthira as the king of the world, actually, the entire planet. Maharaj Yudhishthira, after being enlightened by Krishna and Bhishmadev, he ruled the earth. The kingdom was very, very prosperous, as described in the Bhagavatam. There was abundant rain. The earth produced profusely milk, from the cows, moistened the earth, the rivers, the ocean, the hills, mountains, forests, creepers, active drugs, everything. It was like heaven. Even it was described that the devatas, they became envious of Maharaj Yudhishthira's rule. And you see that little line, they paid their taxes in profusion. In other words, the earth produced so much, because, of Maharaj Parikshit being a devotee, of the Lord. And the earth itself, who is called Bhumi Devi, she became, so happy with that. So there was, profuse, everything was there throughout the earth. The subjects also, were very happy. Not anytime they were disturbed by mental agony, disease, excessive cold, excessive heat, etc. So in verses 7 to 8, where Krishna, he gets ready to depart, and the Lord took his permission from Maharaj Yudhishthira. He offered obeisances unto him, and he embraced others and received obeisances from others. Then the Lord, he got onto his charger. Verses 9 and 10 describes how the devotees, they were unable to tolerate the Lord's separation, and they nearly fainted, because for the Pandavas and the devotees in general, Krishna was like their lifeblood, their heart and soul. The Pandavas intimately were connected with Krishna, and they were unable to tolerate his departing. Their hearts melt because of thought of separation, and all looked upon him with unblinking eyes. And female relatives, they struggled to control their tears. From verses 15 through 19, the Lord was appropriately honored. There were instruments that were being played, the lady showers flowers from top of the palaces, and they exhibited shyness and affection. Arjuna, he took up a jewel umbrella. You see a picture of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, sheltering Krishna as he was departing. And then there were various benedictions offered to the Lord. Then the chapter continued with the ladies on the rooftop. They were speaking the glories of the Lord. The talks were very, very pleasing. And it is said that the talks of the ladies were even more attractive than the Vedic hymns. Lord Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, he existed before the creation, and all beings merge in him after annihilation. This is a summary of what the 21st verse of the 10th chapter was describing Krishna as. The Lord, he gave a chance to fulfill the desires and to reform. The Lord would repeatedly give material names and form to fulfill the desires of the jivas, along with Shastra, to reform them. And it continues by describing Bhakti as the best process for reformation, purification, and experience of the Lord's form. Krishna's form, it is described as most confidential. Though he creates, maintains, and destroys, he is aloof from the material world. And the chapter went on to describe that the Lord, he descends into the material world to punish irresponsible kings, just like that verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham parittanaya sadhuna vinishaya chaduskritam dharma samsapanastaya sambhavame yuge yuge. Millennium after millennium he comes to reestablish the principles of religion and to annihilate the miscreants. So during Maharaj Yudhishthira's rule, and during the time when Krishna was on the planet, Dwarka, it was described as being more glorious than heaven. And the Lord, he glances and favor everyone with sweet smile. The wives of Lord Krishna, who have performed many vows, yajnas, perfect worship of him, is now so intimately connected with him. The gopis' faith just to expect such favors. What that is saying is that the gopis, they were just like desiring to have, intimate, close relationship with Krishna. And, they were, as explained here, they're just lost, to figure how the queens of Dwarka, were having such close, intimate relationship with Krishna. The gopis, they serve mostly in separation from Krishna. So let's continue. So as the Lord, as a reciprocation, the Lord, he smiles, he casts his glances over them as he departed from the city. Maharaj Yudhishthira, he arranged 4 divisions of defense to accompany the Lord. The Pandavas, being overwhelmed with thoughts of future separation from the Lord, they persuaded him to, the Lord persuaded them to return to their homes. In verse 35 through 34 through 35, the Lord, he passed through various provinces to reach Dwarka, and then he was welcomed and worshipped at several places. The Lord, he suspended his journey to perform his evening rites. So this is an overview of what the 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto is. The next chapter will describe the ecstasy of the residents of Dwarka when Krishna arrives in the city. And all of these serve to describe the wonderful interaction of Krishna and his various devotees. So the connection of chapter 10 to chapter 11. Chapter 10 ended with Krishna leaving Hastinapur and traveling over various provinces and finally arriving outside Dwarka. With these two chapters, we get an understanding that Krishna's pastimes are eternal. That is Nitya Leela, like the sun, he may disappear from one place, but the understanding is that he has simply appeared somewhere else to continue his association with his devotees in various pastimes. So this is the flow of chapter 11, verses 1 to 5. Krishna actually reached Dwarka and he blows his conch shell. From 6 to 10, various citizens offer their prayers, which Krishna accepts. And verses 11 through 22, the opulence of Dwarka and its decorations to receive Krishna is described. Then 23 to 29, Krishna enters into the city of Dwarka and greets the citizens as well as his mothers. And from 30 to 35, finally the Lord enters into each of his 16,108 palaces and sees each of his queens. And then the chapter has only 39 verses, so from 36 to 39, the transcendental character of the Lord and the spiritual nature of Krishna's relationship with his queens are described. So, verse 1 explains that the Lord to herald his arrival in the city of Dwarka, he blew his auspicious conch shell, the Panchajanya. It is said that the conch, by the touch of the Lord's transcendental lips, it appeared like swan playing in red lotus. This is described in the text itself. Hearing the song that, hearing that song, Chattan's fair personified, the citizens ran very, very quickly to meet and see the Lord. Text 4 to 10 describes how the citizens welcomed the Lord with gifts and how they glorified him. Out of love, they offered gifts, though Lord Krishna doesn't need them. The analogy of the lamp and the sun is given, or sometimes just like the Ganga, you worship the Ganga by taking some water from the Ganga and pour it back in the Ganga. The source of the water is the Ganga self. Just like you take a lamp, to offer, to Surya, the sun god. So the source of all light is the sun. So in a similar way, everything we see, everything we survey, everything that is in our midst is coming from Krishna. Krishna is the origin, Krishna is the be-all, the end-all. Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mataha sarvam pravartate. Right? Everything emanates from Krishna. And so just to offer gifts is just an exchange of love, although Krishna doesn't need anything and he's the origin, the source of everything. So out of love, they offered gifts. And then the citizens began to speak in very, very, ecstatic language because of long separation from the Lord. By incomparable supremacy, Lord, worship of the Devas, ultimately rest for those who desire ultimate benefit in life. The Lord is unaffected by time. This is described in the text, in technical language. The Lord is the creator, He's the mother, he's the father, he's the Lord, well-wisher, guru, and our worshipable deity. This is described in text number 7. By following in your footsteps, we become successful. These are prayers that are spontaneously offered by the Dwarka Vasis in glorification of the Lord. And after offering these different categories of prayers, the Srimad Bhagavatam explains in different types of prayers that were offered, then they sought, they asked, for the blessings of the Lord. They described how unbearable the separation was when the Lord is outside of the Dwarka. Whenever the Lord goes to Mathura or to Hastinapura, one moment seems to be like millions of years, and their eyes became useless as if bereft of the sun. So this just goes to to show the deep love, the deep affection that they had for Lord Krishna. They went on to, in their prayers to say that existence becomes very, very difficult in a separation, and they can't live without seeing his smiling face, which, according to the verse, it said that that smiling face of Lord Krishna vanquishes all sufferings. And the Lord, as he enters, he began to acknowledge, and he greeted everyone. Text 11 and 12 explains how the Vishnus are protected by the Lord, and various festive signs as the Lord was walking in. There's a nice painting of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That as I was walking, there was flags, there was festoon, there were different slogans, there were painted signs, garlands, were strung and hang all the way just to welcome Lord Krishna. Every house was prepared in one way or other to receive the Lord and to worship him. And from verses 16 through 23 describe the reciprocation to the reception of the Lord. Verses 16 and 17, they come together in the Srimad Bhagavatam. All the relatives, they abandoned all their activities and they rushed to see the Lord and to welcome him. They offered respects, but the respect was saturated, with deep love and affection. And even the prostitutes assembled to meet the Lord with eagerness. One may want to ask how in the city of Dwarka, that's none different from the spiritual world, how prostitutes are there. But the answer to that question is that not everyone were pure devotees of the Lord. Of course, back in the spiritual world, there are no prostitutes, there are no demons. Only in the material world, the Lord actually encountered face to face, with demons. In the spiritual world, it is said that there are only rumors of demons. So text 20 explains that sections of the community they performed various activities just to welcome the Lord, you say cultural activities. Text 21 and 22, the Lord, he duly honored everyone and he greeted them according to their rank and according to their possession, just like there were elders, there were equals, there were juniors. So in Vaishnava dealings, there are different etiquette in dealing with different categories of relatives and devotees and friends. To some of them, the Lord, he bowed down. To others, he greeted them. To his close friends and relatives, he embraced them. He shook hands, with some of them. He glanced at some of them, smiled in a reassuring way. And, to some, he awarded benedictions. The Lord entered the city accompanied by his relatives and elderly brahmanas, plus their wives, all singing his glories. Then we are 2/3 way down the 11th chapter. In text 24, there were responses of the ladies. They went on the top of the roofs, because of shyness. They didn't want to face the Lord face to face, or just being, right in his presence. So they were on top of the roofs. And from there, they were just, glancing, viewing, you could say drinking, with their eyes, the beauty of Lord Krishna as he was entering into Dwarka. They were drinking, his beauty. The Dwarka Vasis means, those who are resident of Dwarka. Although they might, let's say, see the Lord in Dwarka from time to time, it is said that they're wanting to see the Lord more and more is never satisfied. They're never satiated, right? Seeing the Lord more and more, because the Lord's transcendental body is a reservoir of all beauty. Text 27 further described the beauty of the Lord. Then text 28, 29 described the reciprocation with the Lord's mothers headed by Devaki. And there were deep symptoms of motherly love, embrace, and milk were even flowing, from their breasts, as described in the 28 and 29 verse. Verse 30 through 35 deals with the dealings of Lord Krishna with the queens. Krishna met with his wives, 16,108 wives. It is said that 16,100 were let's say imprisoned, and Krishna killed this demon, and he decided to marry 16,100, but the other 8, the 8 principal queens are described also as, I just made a note of them. I can't put my hand to it, but the 8 principal queens are Rukmini, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Mitrabinda, Jambavati, Nagnajiti, Bhadra, and Lakshana. Those are the 8 principal queens. So total 16,108 queens in as many palaces. So the queens, upon seeing Lord Krishna, of course, we know that Krishna, he expanded himself into 16,108 complete forms, and he entered into all the palaces, and the queens, they felt shy. They rejoiced within their mind, seeing the Lord after a long time. They embraced the Lord within their heart, visually through their sons, and they tried to restrain their deep emotion, and they shed tears. Verse 34 described how the Lord became pacified after killing all the demoniac kings who had created so much hostility. The Lord appeared out of his internal potency and transcendently enjoyed with his queens, as if mundane. So, to the common people, it appears like, mundane, henpecked, like Krishna is like, a henpecked husband. But it is all transcendental. Then the last 3 or 4 verses, 36, 37, 38, and 39, describe the transcendental, the Lord's transcendental festive beauty. The responses of the ladies, 36 to 39 describe the transcendental character of Lord Krishna. Verse 36 describes the Lord's senses could not be agitated by feminine attributes of the queens, though they could be captivated by Cupid or Shiva. So what this is explaining, about what is explained here, is that the queens of Dwarka were so beautiful, so attractive, right? But Krishna, he was totally, beyond, the mundane platform of the, let's say, mundane relationship with boy and girl as we know, and like that. Although the queens were, so beautiful, and they explained, so many. They possessed so many feminine attributes. They were in no way able to agitate these senses of the Lord. The Lord is completely unattached and unaffected by matter, but conditioned souls speculate as if Krishna is one of them. So the Lord is unaffected by matter, though in contact with it, so are the surrendered devotees. And then the last verse of the 11th chapter, even his queens could not understand him fully. So this is an overview of the 11th chapter, the 10th chapter, 11th chapter, and let's see if within the next 15-20 minutes we can do an overview of chapter 12 and 13, and we can discuss a little, and then we can go into the question and answer, the Purna Swadhyaya and Swadhyaya, to test our understanding of the contents of these 4 chapters. So let's look at the flow of chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. The sages of Naimisharanya, they turned their questions back to topics about Maharaj Parikshit. From 4 to 6, Sutta Goswami first explained the glories of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Then from 7 to 11, Sutta then explains the vision of the Lord that Maharaj Parikshit saw while still in the womb. Verses 12 through 17, Sutta narrates the birth of Maharaj Parikshit and Yudhishthira's observance of Maharaj Parikshit's birth ceremony, which was attended by learned Brahmanas who described the Lord's protection of Maharaj Parikshit. Then 18 through 29, in answer to Yudhishthira's inquiry about how Maharaj Parikshit will compare to his ancestors, the Brahmanas, they glorified the future qualities of Maharaj Parikshit. The Brahmanas finally described the future death of Parikshit, and then, after being sufficiently remunerated, they returned home. And then this is also a short chapter. This has 36 verses also. Chapter 10, 36 verses. Chapter 11, 39 verses. And this is chapter 12, 36 verses. Chapter 13 has, it's a little longer. It has 60 verses. So from verses 30 through 36, Maharaj Parikshit grows and his qualities develop under Yudhishthira's guardianship. Maharaj Yudhishthira decides to perform a sacrifice to atone for his own sins. His brothers collect needed money, or you could say wealth, and Maharaj Yudhishthira, he performed the sacrifice in the presence of Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna was there when those 3 Ashwamedha sacrifices were performed. Following the sacrifice, Arjuna returned to Hastinapur with Lord Krishna. So, Canto 1, Chapter 12. The chapter is entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. And the first 3 verses discusses inquiries about Maharaj Parikshit. So Maharaj Parikshit was protected by the Lord in the womb. I was just typing so quickly. Sometimes I have some of the words wrong. So we are to hear of his birth, his death, and destination after death. Shukadeva Goswami, he imparted transcendental knowledge unto him. Verses 4 to 6, Maharaj Parikshit's exemplary rule provides a perfect family background for Parikshit's birth. Let me just move this around a little. Dharmaraj, sometimes Maharaj Yudhishthira is referred to as Dharmaraj. He's referred to here as the perfect leader. He administered like his father, very pleasing to the citizens, with no personal sense gratification and continuous service to Lord Krishna. His name and fame reached higher planets. Even the heavenly denizens aspired for his opulence, but he had no attraction for it as he was absorbed in the Lord's service. In other words, even though Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world, and his opulence and his wealth and fame, spread, throughout the universe, he was not fascinated or, in any way enamored by this, right? What was more important to him, as the perfect devotee of the Lord, is that, he was satisfied being a devotee of Lord Krishna. That was more important to him than all the wealth, all the name, all the fame, that he acquired. So child Parikshit in the womb suffered the heat of the Brahmastra, and while in the womb, right, he had a vision of the Lord. This was all due to the causeless mercy of Lord Krishna. The Lord's features as he appeared in the womb is described in text 8, that he was like the size of a thumb, shining, like a gold crown, beautifully blackish, and his cloth looked like lightning. Further features of the Lord that Maharaj Parikshit saw in the womb was that he had 4 arms. His earrings were made of gold. His eyes were blood red, and he was moving about with club, in his hand, like a shooting star. That's how the Srimad Bhagavatam verse explains it. And the Lord was able to counteract the heat of the ashram. And the analogy given, appropriate analogy, was like, just like how the sun evaporates, dew, on, the leaves or the petal, of a flower, with no much endeavor. In a similar way, very easily the Lord was able to counteract the heat of the Brahmastra. And after that, the Lord disappeared after saving the child. Then the ceremonies after Maharaj Parikshit's birth was done. The birth favored all the zodiac signs, just like it is described in the Krishna book, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, that when Krishna appeared, all the constellations were so aligned that it was like, you could say, the most let's say auspicious alignment of all the constellation, just to herald the appearance of Lord Krishna. So in a similar way, Maharaj Parikshit, was great devotee, Mahabhagavat, taking his birth. So in a similar way, his birth favored all the zodiac signs. Verses 13 and 14 describe that King Yudhishthira, he arranged for the purificatory process, and he distributed charity to the brahmanas. And after being satisfied, after he satisfied the Brahmins, he informed that Maharaj Parikshit was in the line of the Purus, which are great family line. Verses 16 through 29, the Brahmanas, they predicted child Parikshit's future qualities. And these verses, one after the other, they discuss the glorious future of child Parikshit. It's said that the child, protected by the Lord, to oblige your dynasty. In other words, it'll be like a gem, a diamond within the dynasty of the great Pandavas, the Puru dynasty, which is coming in the same line. He'll be famous by the name Vishnu Rata, which means he who has been protected, by the Lord, and he will be a first-class devotee. Maharaj Yudhishthira inquires more confidentially about Maharaj Parikshit in verse 18. Then verses 19 through 25, the qualities predicted by the Brahmanas are described, that he will be the maintainer of the prajas. The word praja means every living entity who takes birth, every embodied being who takes birth within the jurisdiction of the king. In this case, it was the entire world, which means even the animals, not only human beings. So Maharaj Parikshit will be known to be a protector, not only of human beings, but of all living entities. He'll be very, very free-handed, very, very munificent, giver of charity. He'll be strong, forbearing, very tolerant, magnanimous, religious, very patient, and over and above all, he'll be known to be such a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna. He'll be known to be father of great kings. The word Rajarshi means devotee king. Of Rajarshi, he'll be known to be father, of all great devotee kings, and chastiser and upstart of the quarrelsome. Verses 27, 28, he will take advantage of the advance notice of his death and will submit to the bona fide herring process. Means that after he understood, he knew that he will have to die in 7 days because of this curse, right? He took to the herring of the Srimad Bhagavatam 7 days, 7 nights without eating anything, without drinking anything, just absorbed in the name, fame, glories, and pastimes of Lord Krishna, hearing from Shukadev Goswami. Maharaj Yudhishthira rewards the Vipras. Vipras means the Brahmanas, and then they returned home. Verses 30 to 36, Maharaj Parikshit, he grows and he performed and while Maharaj Parikshit was growing up, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he performed several Ashwamedha sacrifices. The name Parikshit in Sanskrit means examiner. The royal prince developed luxuriancy like moon in waxing fortnight. This is describing Maharaj Parikshit, as he was growing up. King Yudhishthira, he considered to perform horse sacrifice and desires to collect from it. And then the Pandava brothers, they went to different provinces, they collected sufficient wealth, and specifically it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam verse from King Maruta, and the sacrifice was performed to please Lord Krishna, and it is described that Lord Krishna, he supervised the yajnas personally. The Lord, he stayed for some time, then he left for Dwarka. So that brings us to the end of chapter 12. Chapter 13, the flow of the chapter is from verses 1 to 7. Vidur. The chapter is entitled Dhritarashtra quits home. So Vidur returns to Hastinapur after learning the science of the self from Maitreya Muni. Then verses 8 through 17, Maharaj Yudhishthira questions Vidur about his travels, and Vidur, who after replying, he stays in Hastinapura for some time. From 18 to 28, while in Hastinapura, Vidur preaches to Dhritarashtra, his elder brothers, to give up his material attachments. Vidur pushes Dhritarashtra to immediately leave home and pursue the self-realization. 29 to 37, Dhritarashtra finally leaves along with his chaste wife, Gandhari, and Vidur. When their absence was detected by Yudhishthira, he inquires from Sanjaya, who was Dhritarashtra's personal servant, about Dhritarashtra's whereabout. Then Narada Muni appeared, and Yudhishthira questioned the sage. 41 through 47, Narada instructs Yudhishthira about the true situation of the living entity in this world. 48 through 50, Narada instructs Yudhishthira to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who has descended upon the earth. Before Narada departs, he explains that Dhritarashtra, after going to the Ganges, will give up his body while performing mystic yoga. So in a nutshell, that's what chapter 13, right, discusses. After receiving knowledge from Maitreya, Vidur returned to Hastinapur. After established in loving devotional service, Vidur stopped his inquiries. Verses 3 and 4 describes King Yudhishthira, Kunti, and others saw Vidur and they hurried to reach him as if they regained their consciousness after a long time. The fact is that after being insulted by Duryodhana, Vidur, he chose to go on
pilgrimage, and so he was away from the palace for a long, long time. And now that he is coming back, and everyone understand how glorious and how great a saint and devotee he was, it was like if everyone had in one sense lost consciousness. They were just living in an unconscious state while Vidura was away. But now that he is returning, it's like everyone has regained their full consciousness. Immediately they exchange obeisances, and they embrace him, and they welcome him. Many cried out in affection due to the anxiety of long years of separation. Maharaj Yudhishthira, he arranged a reception, and talks were exchanged between Vidura and other members of the family. King Yudhishthira, he offered a sitting accommodation and a reception. At the reception, Vidura was fed well, given breast, comfortably seated, and then talks were exchanged. Text 8 explains how the Pandavas, especially Maharaj Yudhishthira was speaking, he was referring to Vidura as uncle, how when they were young, there were so many attempts made to harm them. They were put in so many danger, just like they were put into a house made of shellac, and then it was set alight. And in every circumstance, in every occasion when they were life were in danger, Vidura, as their loving uncle, he will always save them. And it is described in that verse that Maharaj Yudhishthira, he describes that Vidura, he protected them like wings of a bird. So Maharaj Yudhishthira, he began to inquire from Vidura about his travels, how he maintained himself, what tirthas, what holy places he visited on pilgrimage. And then there's this famous verse in verse 10 of the 13th chapter: the devotees like you are verily places of pilgrimage personified, because you carry the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your heart. You turn all places into places of pilgrimage. There's a wonderful purport given to this 10th verse by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthira was asking, you must have visited Dwarka. Residents there always serve the Lord. Are they living happily? Various questions were being, there's some question in the chat. I'm really very sorry I can't. Okay, Prem Manjari Mataji is saying, I just saw this chat. Okay. That is, it is described in verses 12 and 13 that Vidura, he told only some of his places of pilgrimage, and some of the things, he revealed to them, not everything, right? And one of the things that he held back was the disappearance of the Yadu dynasty, right? Because, out of compassion, for them, he didn't want to break, bad news, right? So compassionate Vidura could not stand to see the Pandavas being in distress, hearing about the disappearance of the Yadus. Then 14 to 17, Vidura's purpose of staying, his main purpose of coming home back, you could say, coming back to the palace, was to instruct, his brother, Dhritarashtra. Then there are some verses, few verses followed, which explain the previous life of Vidura, that he is the incarnation of Jamaraj, who was cursed by Manduka Muni. And while he was away, our Yama substituted, his post. Right, let's go a little faster. Vidura began to speak to his brother. Actually, not speak, but chastise Dhritarashtra. He was saying that my dear Rajan, and the word Rajan was used sarcastically. Sarcastically means that Dhritarashtra wasn't in any way king, but he was just like being called king, maybe given a nice throne, but in no way, he was really the king. So Vidura sarcastically was referring to him as king, and he was saying, "Please get out of here immediately. See how fear has overcome you. Fearful death cannot be remedied by anyone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Kala, has approached all of us." And then he went on to give these very, very strong instruction. Time forces everyone to surrender everything, your wealth, your honor, your children, land, home. Very strong philosophy, he was preaching, and even our own life. The next 7 verses teaches renunciation. All your relatives died. This is Vidura speaking. Very strong language. All your relatives died. Your father, your brother, your well-wisher, your 100 sons are dead. Your body has overtaken by invalidity. You are living in another's home. Visible signs of old age. You're blind from birth, now deaf, memory shortened. Your teeth is loose and you're coughing up mucus, and it goes on and on. And after these strong words from Vidura, verses 29 through 37, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and also Vidura leaves, and Maharaj Yudhishthira began to lament. The power of association of a sadhu. Dhritarashtra, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, broke strong family connections, set out on the path of liberation. So Vidura, is said to be a genuine sadhu, and in Sanskrit language, the word sadhu means to cut. To cut away what? To cut what? To cut our material attachment, to cut away the illusion. So the strong preaching from Vidura immediately, sank deeply into the heart and mind of Dhritarashtra, and he immediately left. For the Himalayas. They said that gentle and chaste Gandhari followed, her husband to the Himalayas. After Maharaj Yudhishthira discovers their departure, he became very, very much affected. Maharaj Yudhishthira, he asked Sanjaya, "Where is my old blind uncle? Where is Vidura? Where is Gandhari?" Aggrieved for their sons. Have they gone to the Ganges? He was posing different questions. Sanjaya tries to respond by pacifying his mind by intelligence. Even Sanjaya, it is said, he feels being cheated. While all this was going on, Narada Muni, he appeared and it is said that he shattered Yudhishthira's lamentation and illusion. So it's almost 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. We have about 20 minutes remaining. I'm just wondering what we should do. I wanted us to discuss a little about some realizations, as was asked of us by Prem Kishore Prabhu in our presentation. I don't know what we should do, if we should continue. That's in a nutshell what the summary is all about. I'm just wondering if we can go right ahead into the question and answer. What do you think we should do, Prem Kishore Prabhu?
Yeah, we can. You can just not summarize it, and you can close that, Prabhu. So we can go. You have those questions, or you want me to put it on the screen, the questions, so that we can have the interactive session?
Yeah, I have them. I have them.
Okay.
Let me just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Let me see. All right, I'm just going down there. All right. Let me just open my screen a little.
And I can say it's a detailed study you did, and it's a dry, as against what Gaur-Sundar Prabhu reviewed last week of Kunti prayers and Bhishma prayers. But we did a really wonderful job here. So we can go directly into, if you want to summarize, you can summarize.
Yeah, let me see. I have to share my screen again.
Okay.
Let me go share screen, and I have to hit share. All right. I have to open. All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is like the fun part. Right. Sometimes it's difficult to just listen to philosophy lecture all the time. So let's see how we can, what we could make of this. I'm going to just these are the questions, the Purva Swadhyaya question for chapter 10, the departure of Lord Krishna to Dwarka, right? And okay, that's the first question. Why Maharaj Yudhishthira could not enjoy the results of his victory? That's the first question, right? If any one of us know to answer, you answer. Otherwise, I'll just post my answer, right? Having done an overview of the whole chapter, and we did it with Bayahari Prabhu and like that. But it's sweet. It's very, very sweet, to answer these questions, because you have to read the purport. That's one. And number two is that these questions are based on, let's say the most important, the most salient point touched on in the purport. So why Maharaj Parikshit could not enjoy the results of his victory? And that's my answer. Maharaj Yudhishthira could not enjoy the result of his victory because his cousins were all killed in the fight. As a result, he ruled over the kingdom as a matter of duty only, assisted by his younger brothers, because basically it means that how can you enjoy when, all your cousin brothers, all the Kauravas, every one of you, around you, has been killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, right?
So I would like to have some interaction from others also. What would be other probable answer here, right? So you got this, like, yes, two things is where Yudhishthira Maharaj was more of a concern where his cousins were killed, and one is the other, he's taken as a kind of a responsibility, right? So any other answers you see, or anyone?
Prabhuji, like, we can say, but, Prabhuji is actually distilled it to actually from the purports, right? So that's why we are, we sharing, because all we can say is by recollecting from whatever Prabhuji says or whatever we understood so far, not like we read the purport and coming up with a distilled answer, right? So that's why we are hesitant to say.
Actually, expectation was to read, but anyway, that's fine.
Well, there could be other answer. I mean, there might be, so many, but like you say, I try to stick to the purport, so there could be, so many more answers. Now, the other question: why was the Battle of Kurukshetra fought? You could think, but this is my answer. You can see if there is anything else you can think of. But the Battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of the Lord, so that undesirable persons could get out of the world, and a peaceful kingdom under his devotee could be established. In other words, to remove, all the demoniac kings and reestablish Maharaj Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. Basically, that's the essence of what the war, was for. Everyone was brought there, so many things happened, ending up, with, the Battle of Kurukshetra, where 640 million people got killed, just to reestablish, his devotees. If there's any other answer, you're free. I mean, we are all just right here. Anything else you'd like to say? List some aspects of the world situation created by Maharaj Yudhishthira's reign. And this is my answer, that Maharaj Yudhishthira, the executive head, was trained and had full autocratic power to rule over the world under the guidance of higher authority like Lord Krishna and his representatives. Therefore, the world was a happy place. Clouds shower all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to the fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cows used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. The rivers, the oceans, the hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season were there in profusion. Thus, there was no need for artificial way of living depending on factories and tools that could render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. All the various welfare of the citizens was looked after. So these were like some aspects created by the rule of Maharaj Parikshit. In other words, people were very, very happy with depending on nature and the bounty of the earth. Everything was in profusion. And Prabhupada went into the purport to talk about, modern materialistic way of living and factories and, all this ugra karma that goes on these days, right? So you could make any comment if you wish.
Perfect, Prabhu.
The next question is, explain how an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthira's is superior to democracy. The whole world these days is based on democracy. So explain how an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthira is superior. So the answer I give is, in contrast
with the modern, advanced, civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaj Yudhishthira is by far superior to a so-called democracy. In Maharaj Parikshit's rule, the bounty of the earth was not exploited for selfish interests of the greedy capitalists that only turn the world into chaos. The people's needs were taken care of simply, and extra time was used to cultivate spirituality, spiritual life, the innate hankering, of the soul. That's what we are hankering for, not, all the material necessities to make the material body comfortable, right? So over and above everything, people were given the environment, the opportunity to cultivate spirituality, which is what we are really hankering for.
Prabhu, if I can share my notes from.
Go, you go. That's the whole.
That's the whole purpose here. Yeah.
That's the whole purpose.
So the previous question, the question number 3, one of the notes that I had written was, this is from Prabhu's class. He said that from war comes aversion to material world, and from peace comes attraction to the spiritual world. They both facilitate going back to Godhead. And so in a sense, for question number 3, Maharaj Yudhishthira's reign brought in peace, and thereby facilitating the attraction to the spiritual world. For question number 4, I had this note again from Prabhu's class where he quoted Dhanudhara Swami's, where he wrote that where he said if Shudras rule, there will be communism. When Vaishyas rule, there will be capitalism.
Yeah, I remember that.
Rule, there is monarchy, and then when Brahmanas rule, there is anarchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when Vena was thrown out and things like that. So I thought it fit in with the question number 4 that you just were sharing.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
Mataji, we being having very less time, would you mind sharing your answers in the chat, like the file, so that we can later, when we are writing our answers, we can use it as reference?
See, what we used to do in the past, is that there was a forum. I don't know if it was the same email forum where every student in the class used to share their answers. So you could compare and you can just have more ideas. But that was the first time when I did these sessions. So it'll be nice. I like the answer that Mataji shared, and if there could be sort of like a forum or some sort of
like a blog, yeah.
Yeah, so
Let
we
me
just
do some research on that.
We can post all of our answers, there, and then it'll be good for all of us.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 5. Why is there always the strain of cold and hot war between men? And the answer I give is that in the current age, there is enmity towards poor animals, and therefore the poor creatures are always anxious. The reaction of the poor animals is being forced on human society, and therefore there is always strain of cold or hot war between men, individually, collectively, and nationally. In other words, what I'm saying, this is straight from the purport of the Prabhupada. But that, if we don't live in harmony with nature, and if we don't respect other living entities, it'll incur karma. Cutting the trees, killing the animals, and all this, it'll incur karma. For greed.
Meat eating is the answer, right? In one word.
Yeah. Heavy karma, and as a result of that, it'll react, in all the anomalies that we are facing. War, and pestilence, and the COVID-19, and whatever. It's because of the accumulated karma that is reacting back on us.
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, for question 4, the answer, like one more thing that I was thinking is, it is very easy to say if king is Maharaj Yudhishthir, because there is only one Maharaj Yudhishthir, one Lord Sri Ram. Once in a millennium we will find kings like them, or Maharaj Parikshit, like that. But any Vedic king, because the kings are following, based on the rules and regulations given in Vedic culture. So any autocracy which are followed by the laws of God, they are better than democracy, which are governed pretty much by ignorant common people.
Yeah,
So,
Prabhupada used to say democracy means demon crazy.
yeah.
So, let's see if we could complete this. We have 5 minutes more. We are not going to go over time. 5 minutes more, 4 or 5 minutes more. Let's see if we can complete the 10. And then Prem Kishore Prabhu could advise us what to do. If we can continue with a session like this next Monday, just the questions and answers, or he'll advise us what to do, or we can post our answers on a blog or something. So. Question 6, what did the Lord decide? Why did the Lord decide to stay in Hastinapur for a few months more?
Actually, like you described in the class, that he wanted to pacify Yudhishthira Maharaj and make him calm down.
Yeah, I wrote here, Lord Krishna decided to stay in Hastinapur for a few months more just to pacify his relatives and please his own sister Subhadra. Describe the extra natural beauty of the fair sex and how it should be utilized. Actually, if you notice these questions, they have in bracket 16. You see 16, question 6 has 7. So it means that the answer, you could find it, in the purport to text 16.
Yes, Prabhu.
Like that. So they're giving us, some guidance also. So describe the extra natural beauty of, I wrote here, shyness is the particular extra natural beauty of the fair sex, and it commands respect from the opposite sex. This gift of nature to the fair sex enhances their beauty and prestige, even if they are of a less important family, or even if they are less attractive. Shyness is a check to the unrestricted mixing common nowadays, and it leads to dignity towards females. Prabhupada wrote this in the purport. There may be more to it, that's what I'm saying. But I like this little extract from the purport that Prabhupada wrote. Explain why the talk of the ladies on the roof of all the houses of Hastinapur was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas.
Because that's the essence of the Vedas, is to glorify Supreme Lord.
Exactly, something to that effect. But let's see how Prabhupada put it. This is Prabhupada's purport, this is the language. The Vedic hymns and the Upanishads are sometimes indirectly directed to the Supreme Lord. But the talks of the ladies were spoken directly of the Lord, and thus they were more pleasing to the heart. The ladies' talks appeared to be more valuable than the Lord Brahmana's benedictions. Right? I like that line that Prabhupada wrote. The Vedic hymns and the Upanishads sometimes talk indirectly about Krishna. They deal with impersonalism, they deal with, other aspects of the Lord. But
the talks of the ladies, they were directed directly to Lord Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhupada's words are perfect.
All right, let's go one more. List some of the superhuman acts the Lord performs to prove his supreme right. Some superhuman acts. Oh, it's quite a bit here. When the Lord descends, he exhibits superhuman acts just to prove his supreme right. And materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakasipu, and Kamsa are sufficiently punished. He acts in a manner which no one can imitate. Example, the Lord, when he appeared as Ram, he bridged the Indian Ocean. When he appeared as Kamsa, from his very, when he appeared as Krishna, from his very childhood, he showed superhuman activities by killing Putana, Agasura, Sakatasura, Kalya, etc. And then his maternal uncle's Kamsa. When he was at Dwarka, he married 16,108 queens, and all of them were blessed with sufficient number of children. The sum total of his personal family members amounted to about 100,000, popularly known as the Yadu Vamsa. And again, during his lifetime, he managed to vanquish them all. He is famous as Govardhan Hari, because he lifted at the age of only 7 the hill known as Govardhan. The Lord killed many undesirable kings in his time, and as a Kshatriya, he fought chivalrously. He is famous as the Asamudra, unparalleled. No one is equal or greater than him. So I listed some of the superhuman acts that the Lord performed to prove his supreme right. Anyway, I think we have to close now. Let's hear from Prem Kishore Prabhu what he would advise, and then we can close.
So thank you very much, Prabhu. So the way we'll go, first of all, if we can stop the sharing now.
Yeah, let me stop here.
Would you like to share that PPT, Prabhu?
At what?
Yeah, we can share the PowerPoint, the deck which you created, Prabhu, just for
I could give everything that I have. I can share it with you.
So I would like to, first of all, on this question and answer sessions, even last week, we spoke when Gaurasundar Prabhu was talking. The whole purpose of this Purva Swadhyaya, like self-study questions to be put in for these sessions, was to help out who have not initiated, and if there are any questions which they have queries, they can put it into this form and get the answers, right? Or to help them. So towards the direction, we can restrict, as you did, Paramatma Prabhu, very small time, not reviewing each and every question. The ones which are like little, we can put in, let's say, like interactive, this is what I think, what do you think, and 2 or 3 queries should be good enough. So towards the blog, I just researched while we were talking. Within the blog, within the Google, we have certain blogger capability. So I will try to initiate few blogger questions, right? Like, so that whoever wants to add in, they can add in with their view or perspectives, okay? So we can restrict those blogs only to those questions. So that is number 1. And number 2 is, I would like to share the screen. So there are quite a few sessions which are open right now still. And I would like to request what should be the approach, right? Like for next week, there is no session. And there are a few devotees who are yet to be picked up. And also I've seen last 2 sessions, Gaur-Sundar Prabhu has hurried his, presentation, okay, on this Bhishma Dev. He wanted little time more. If he wants to take it, we can give him. Okay. So next 2 weeks are open, actually. No one took it. So I wanted to have the Chaturshloki initially. So I'm scheduled for 21st. If you want me to pick it up for earlier weeks, I have some commitment here with my work, but here I can try. But is there anyone who can chime in who are there in the call? And the dates, what I've captured here is the Sundays. Accidentally, I put the Sundays here, but looks like that works better for everyone. As we can go a little bit relaxed and also a little bit extended hours. So if everyone is okay on this, let me know.
Sure, Prabhu. Sunday 10 o'clock works, Prabhu, because 9 to 10 we have.
10 o'clock we can do that.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I would like to request to pick this up. That is one. And we already put in like 1 month only for these mock sessions. By today, we completed 3 sessions. So where are we going? Like, do we really want everyone to be given equal opportunity to complete this? Because I see it is going till April with Sarang Prabhu. He picked up the last on April 11th. So do you feel that once a week we should request Bayari Prabhu to take class or continue with our 4th canto? In parallel, we can have this.
I think no, Prabhuji. I think better we
Complete everything.
Complete everything, Prabhu, because even the very reason, like I'm interested to present, but at the same time I am more interested that I should finish writing the Puraswajay. So rather than preparing for chapters, I wanted to focus on answers. You can stop recording, Prabhu.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I would like to hear out from each one of you.
Yeah. So
what is the recommendation? Do you feel we need to complete all the sessions, Sarang Prabhu, Paramatma Prabhu, Varsana Mataji? What I would like to hear out from each one of you, because few devotees have called me. They were saying they are missing Prabhu's sessions, but as Paramatma Prabhu also stated, it's like we are more dependent on Bayari Prabhu rather than. So I would like to take this because April 4th is like 4 months, 4 full months will not have any class.
Feb, March, well, 3 more months, Prabhu. And one more update, Prabhu. Yesterday I got to know that Bayar Prabhuji is leaving to India this Friday, that is on Feb 4th, and he will be coming back on March 4th. So 1 month.
That's good. I was not aware. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then it is a good thing. Another at least 1 month we have. So next 2 sessions, what is the guidance here? Next week it is highly not possible for me, but anyone can pick up. Okay, there's no need to commit here.
I want to make a comment. Can I make a comment?
Yes, Prabhu.
If Vayahari Prabhu is going to come back in March, does that mean that he'll start classes back first week in March? That's what it means?
No. He never spoke to me. When we last spoke, it was all our discretion, and he preferred. We don't have exam kind of a thing here now, right, in Bhakti Vaibhava. So we didn't, and naturally we would have taken break after every canto, which we did not take. So here we are kind of within 4 canto right now. We need to see how best we can do with these mock sessions. So if we complete it, it's well and good, so that once he comes back in March, and then he can have some few weeks off, then we can start from April if it goes according to schedule. But there are few topics which have not been picked up yet. And I would encourage every devotee to take at least one. And if they have enthusiasm, they can take 2 or 3 as well.
Prabhuji, I wanted to take one of the later sections, Prabhuji, because first I wanted to focus on writing the Porosvajay for myself.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not opting at this point of time, but because my time also is very limited.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So I will send out a note. There's no need to commit in this call. So next 2 weeks, I would like someone to pick up at least Ravi Prabhu, if you want to extend your session next week, or Gaur Sundar Prabhu. I don't know if he's hearing, he's traveling to his work, commuting to his work. So next week, if you can cover, probably the week after I'll cover. Okay. So I'll let you guys know.
Sure, Prabhu. I will let you know, Prabhu, because this coming Sunday I have another presentation on Bhagavatam only 9 to 10 on Sunday.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking where to focus.
Okay, no problem. So the one who didn't pick up also, Premanjari Mataji, Achyuta. If you can pick up, that will be helpful. Any other guidance?
Gaur Sundar Prabhu texted something just now that I will tell if I can do.
Yeah, it won't affect Bhayari Prabhu. No, it's not affecting Prabhu. It is basically, he can do 7th and or 14th. It seems.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not affecting him. The whole purpose was to have our own sessions more focused. But Prabhu was open to take those sessions, also his own continuous sessions, but we purposely stopped that.
Yes, Prabhuji. I think this is actually opportunity, Prabhuji. Prabhuji giving a break is opportunity for us to focus on Porosvajay. Otherwise, our days are already busy and we won't find any time even to write this and cope up. We will reach soon 5th canto and 6th canto like that. But
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ravi Prabhu. So anyone else, if you want to chime in, you can chime in, or we can meet on Sunday. Okay, I'll send out the note.
Yeah, we can do further communication on the WhatsApp group. I think that's convenient,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu.
And Pramkishar, this Sunday might be difficult for me, Prabhuji. So I'm sharing it now. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. We can pick it for 14th then. Okay.
Sure, Prabhu. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Vasundaravicha Pratikana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Vaishnavandaki. Thank you.